Hi, everyone. Welcome to SPK and Associates video here today. This video is entitled "You Don't Need a Gantt Chart for Agile. You Need a Clear Path." My name is Michael Roberts, Vice President of Sales and Marketing at SPK and Associates, and I'm here today with Mark Brickley. Mark, feel free to introduce yourself.
Yeah, Mark Brickley. I'm one of the directors of application development at Moser Consulting. It's about a 300 employee full service IT consulting company in Indianapolis, Indiana. And then I'm also the product manager of an app that we created for the Atlassian marketplace called ClearPath for Jira. We have a group within Moser Consulting we call Moser Labs, and that's a group that creates B2B apps, and ClearPath's the one I'm involved in.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Mark. We're going to talk about some serious challenges here. So if you've ever tried to apply traditional project management tools like a Gantt chart to Agile, you might find yourself a little frustrated. It's like trying to steer a speedboat with an anchor dragging you behind. Gantt charts have their place, but in Agile, they often end up creating more confusion than clarity. So agile teams don't need to have those rigid timelines. They need a excuse me, a much clearer path to help deliver value, iterate quickly, and adapt to change. So in this video, Mark will help us break down why those Gantt charts don't necessarily fit in an agile workflow, and more importantly, what you should do instead. So, Mark, this first the title of this video is going to be "You don't need a Gantt chart for agile. You need a clear path." So that's a pretty strong statement. So, what do you have against Gantt charts?
Well, personally, I don't have anything against Gantt charts, but really, you and I are very aligned on our approaches to when it's appropriate or right to use a Gantt chart. Gantt charts are a great tool for projects that, let's say, you're trying to organize cross-functional teams together. Let's say you have a product launch and you need your marketing group and your sales and your customer success and your tech support all aligned on dates and doing deliverables. It keeps everybody on task. It's also great for like hardware projects, but because it's so successful in those cases, a lot of people have the inclination to apply them to agile software projects because Gantt chart, it's something that feels familiar to people, so they want to use it. But if you've learned agile, if you're employing it at the same time, the Gantt chart, it really feels out of place. So the question is like why does it feel out of place? Um, if you're familiar with the Agile philosophy, part of it is you're specifically trying to get rid of parts of your processes that don't end up producing value in the product. A couple terms from the Agile Manifesto. In Agile, you're about conversations, not comprehensive documentation. Also, the measure of progress is a working product. So when you think about a Gantt chart, what is it? Oh, it's comprehensive documentation. And then what happens with those is you create this big project plan to a detail, but then a couple days later something changes, and what do you have to do? You have to replan. You have to go update things. So what you're doing is you're constantly updating that documentation when those hours of work in theory could actually be improving the product. Also with Gantt charts, in order to use them effectively, you need detailed estimates. Those are usually things done in like hours or days. But in Agile, you're embracing more of a concept of fuzzy math that you don't usually estimate in hours. Those are specific cases like tasks or spikes. What you're estimating a lot of user stories, and you estimate those in story points, which is more of like a range of time, and you put them in buckets called sprints. And with that fuzzy math, you're empowering your team to deliver value, to achieve outcomes in the ways that they should. And what you want from their progress is what you want is a projection, not really a plan. Agile is about projections, not plans. And then kind of like the last reason why, like I'm not as much a fan of a Gantt chart for agile development is in order to do a good Gantt chart, you have to get a lot of information, which means you have to talk to a lot of people, you have to have a lot of meetings. Once you have all the information in the Gantt chart, you need to have another meeting to roll it out to everybody. And then when you have to replan, then what do you have to do is have another meeting with all the stakeholders to show them the changes. In Agile, you want to spend less time in meetings and more time delivering value. So kind of putting those things together, that's kind of why like a Gantt chart just doesn't feel right when what you're doing is agile software development. You should be embracing change, not the rigidity that comes with a Gantt chart.
I love it. I love it. So this is probably the next side of this. You have your team has developed a tool called ClearPath for Jira. So why do you believe that ClearPath is a better option than a Gantt chart?
Well, when we developed it, we specifically developed it for our own internal Agile teams. We weren't developing it to give it to other companies. We saw our own teams where we had some junior product owners. We wanted to be able to upskill them as well as improve client satisfaction and team happiness. So, these pictures that I would help them draw on whiteboards in different meetings that we had to help them visualize the work, we just kind of said, you know what, all this information's in Jira. Wouldn't it be great if we just click a button and bam, the visual's there instead of having to do these manual diagrams? So we developed the app internally and we deployed it out to a couple of our teams. One of them had a really tight deadline that a client needed. There's this thing called COVID that a lot of companies struggled with, and they had some tight deadlines in order to increase revenue and deliver results. And a client really asked us to do something that seemed impossible. But once we had it in a ClearPath like tool, we had the visualization. The team could see this is the critical path of all the tasking, all of your user stories. If we can get this done in time, we can get the project done. And then everybody started believing. And then everybody rallied together to execute. And we delivered in time for that client. And we continue to on our other consulting projects that we have. So I really believe in it because I've seen it work. I've seen product owners become better product owners. I've seen teams have more satisfaction because they seem to feel like they're in the know more. That they can go into Jira, they can pull up this visualization and understand how all the different pieces of the puzzle of the backlog fit together to have a plan and really achieve the outcome that they want. And we've had clients more satisfied because we can deliver even more value than what we're already doing in a shorter period of time. So that combined success is what made us say, you know what, this could be great for a lot of other companies as well. And that's what made us decide to put it in that Atlassian marketplace.
I love it. And the teams actually seeing, the visualization of it and believing, that's a huge boost of productivity when people actually believe that their work is doable and you can meet deadlines. That you get a lot of value from that.
Oh,
So,
correct.
Mark, what roles are the primary users of your product?
So it's going to depend on how the organization is laid out. Specifically, companies at different scales might have different roles. Like you might have just a single product manager, or your product roles might be split between product manager and product owner. But generally, the power user is going to be whoever creates the bulk of the tickets, specifically the user stories, tasks, and epics. So that could be your product manager, your product owner. In some companies, that could be a BA. In really large organizations like those FANG companies, they have an engineering manager role that does that. So they're the ones building the backlog, getting it ready for backlog refinement. But in the end, everybody on the team can get value out of it because our teams do backlog refinement in ClearPath. They bring up all the tickets, and everybody's immediately kind of on the same page of how we're stepping through development. What's the implementation order? What are the assumptions that I have of what is and isn't developed when I'm doing my story pointing? So it's really bringing teams together. A number of our teams are also distributed. We have people in different time zones. So sometimes you're working and the rest of your team is done. Or maybe you have a question and your product owner is in a meeting and you can't get a hold of them. What they can do is go into ClearPath, pull the data out. They can see the visualization and answer the questions themselves. So without having to wait and have that synchronous communication, it's really helping the team deliver value.
Keep moving. I love it. So, given that there's, so much data and information in Jira and within, ClearPath, are there any problems that ClearPath solves that may not be as obvious to the casual user?
Yeah, there's definitely, I'll say, some advanced use cases. Some of the problems we solve, like it's going to help junior teams right off the bat. But if you're an experienced person in product, you've been doing development for quite a while, the ability to estimate product increments is something that comes in very handy. That's actually something that I'm known for as being my superpower at Motion Consulting. If anything's a big project, they bring me in to do the estimate, and how I do that is actually I use ClearPath. I skeleton out a whole bunch of user stories, what I think the scope is, look at the dependencies, And then in ClearPath, we have the ability to analyze your critical path. So I go and I click a button called the sprints button, and it will outline the longest chain of serial tickets that have to be executed in your project. That's really what's driving your schedule. And if you zoom in at the first ticket of that chain, it's going to tell you how many there are. So if it says seven, roughly, you already know your starting point's probably about seven sprints. Because in Agile, there's a general philosophy of you don't put two tickets in the same sprint that block each other.
Right.
So I know that's my starting point, but because of this visualization, I can quickly get a grasp of are there any sprints that maybe have too many tasks that can be completed in a single sprint. I need to split it up. Why or how it does that is every row in ClearPath is kind of synonymous with a theoretical sprint. So I can look and say, okay, my starting point seven sprints. Here's an area where we have a lot of work that can be parallelized. Maybe I need to add two more. So we're up to nine. But let me look early on. Actually, there's very few tickets we can parallelize. There's so much serial work that the team's got to ramp up. So then maybe I need to make another adjustment there. Once I have the tickets in Jira, I can generally estimate large projects in a matter of minutes, definitely less than an hour. So once you get familiar with it, I have a video on YouTube that kind of talks about that process. It's kind of like a superpower that people will be amazed with.
I was going to say that is a superpower because I've always been horrible at estimating, and I don't know very many people that are really good at it. So this seems like a little bit of a cheat code. So I like that. Um, so Mark, what do you like work most about working on ClearPath?
Ooh, very good question. I would say anybody who knows me has heard me say this many times is I just like to do things that improve people's lives. And I do that in a variety of ways, whether it is helping kids with their self-confidence through coaching youth sports, something I've done for 20 years. For about a decade, something that I did was I worked on software for pilots and military aircraft. So the software that I was doing was literally making changes to help save people's lives or protect the lives of the military and civilians. So it was a very fulfilling thing. And in the case of ClearPath, what I'm doing is I'm working with an amazing team of people. Um, really respect them a lot. We do great work, and we're creating a product that's improving the lives of people all across the world doing agile development. It's helping them feel happier and more fulfilled with the work that they do because they kind of understand what the purpose is. They feel like there's less wasted work. They have a purpose and a vision very clear in the app, and then go off and execute. So that simple fact that most of my improvements I've done have been like from a microcosm standpoint, the people I interact with daily, and to now I'm working on an app that has a global reach to improve people's lives all across the world. Like that's pretty amazing, and I really appreciate my team at Mosher Labs and how well we work together to accomplish that.
Uh, Awesome story. I love that. Having actual real motivation to deliver product value. That's awesome story. Thank you for sharing.
No problem.
So, folks, there you have it. Agile isn't about sticking to those rigid timelines. It's more about having that clear path to keep your team aligned, adaptable, focused, and really good at estimating. Instead of relying on those Gantt charts, make sure you're using this approach. This is actually something that when I saw years ago, I said we need to align to this and make sure that we're promoting it so other people know that it's there. So we'll make sure we put a link in the description to ClearPath for Jira and the Atlassian Marketplace. So Mark, thank you for your time and attention here today. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. We'd love to hear how you're managing your Agile planning today. If you're looking for some expert guidance on Agile workflows in Jira, make sure you reach out to SBK and Associates. We're an Atlassian Gold Solution Partner, and we have experience helping keep people get the most out of their Atlassian investment. Thanks for your time. Thanks to Mark, and thanks for watching. Until next time.